Hello, 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 and welcome to the Blue Oval Podcast. I am Ben Weissman. Joining me, as always, Garrett Zatlin. How's it going, man?
Ben, arguably the best performance of the weekend came from a Virginia Tech Hokie.
Yes.
And that wasn't even the best part of this past week. The best part of this past week was that we got longtime veteran Mara Beatty back at TSR. Mara took a year off, and now she's back. And so we'll have her for the upcoming, summer rankings, cross country rankings. And she's just a workhorse. And so I'm thrilled to have her back. She also gives me a lot of crap, which I'm not thrilled about, but otherwise excited to have her.
It's going to be funny to see how the people who joined TSR in between the times that Mara was gone react to like having her join and be like, wait, people talk to Garrett like this sometimes? And it's like, yeah, like sometimes the OG crew is willing to challenge Garrett. We were with him at the very beginning.
You were, and here's the thing: Ben's just too nice for everyone listening. Ben's just too nice to give me too much of a hard time. Mara is like, she's like, I may be from the Midwest, but I will ensure that I embarrass you every now and then. So, yeah, she likes to do that. But I'm happy to have her back, despite her being a bully. What I'm not happy about is the lack of ratings and reviews. That feels like it's worse than Mara's bullying. So that's 0 on Apple, 0 on Spotify. Please leave a 5-star rating and review. That would really, really help. I know you don't think it does. It does. But Ben, we'll put that aside for now. Whole lot. Oh, also SEC championship interviews from Donnie Spees on our YouTube page. Go check that out. We've got a lot. Conference championships. It's over. A lot to digest. We can't get to possibly every little nitty gritty performance. But we'll have to start somewhere, and I'll let you take the lead. Where are we starting?
Yeah, we're going to try to hit on the major results in terms of, I think, exceeding our expectations mainly. We're not looking at, hey, Grace Hartman ran 15:12. That's awesome. Good job. We expected Grace Hartman to be able to run something like that. We're not going to go in depth on those kind of performances, even though they're great and they're some of the best performances of the weekend. What we're going to be focusing on are those ones that really change our opinions of the athletes involved. And we're going to go conference by conference. We're going to start in alphabetical order here. And we're going to go with the ACC. And like Garrett mentioned at the top, we're starting with a Hokie, Christian Jackson, who runs 144 to beat Clemson's Brian Quimway, who ran 145 in his own right. Very solid performance from him as well. But the story of this meet, and the story really of the weekend, is Christian Jackson's 144, elevating him to a completely different level after never running 145 to not only win the ACC championship over Quimway and teammate Nick Plant. He puts himself at the very top, near the very top of the NCAA picture.
Awesome performance. This is I needed one more kind of result to be like, hey, how legit are you? Split 145 on Virginia Tech's DMR this past winter. He went on to run 146 at the same Wake Forest track to take down teammate Nick Plant, take down Reinhard Swainpool of Wake Forest. And I needed to see like one more big performance, right? Like if he was top 3 and ran 146 low or 145 high, I would have been happy with it. But he even said in a post-race interview that he wanted to be. Coach Thomas and him had talked about being more aggressive with his front running after the Wake Forest invite, and you saw that he was aggressive from the gun, 51 flat opening 400 meters, and he just stays on the gas and opens up in that last 150 200 meters and takes home a win in 144.83, NCAA number 20 all time. It tells me this. It tells me that he has enough natural raw talent to compete with pretty much anyone in the country. Because even if he's a second slower, then guess what? He's still a 145 guy. Fun fact, he skipped 146 to 144. He does never run 145 individually in an open event. But now the question is, how will the intangibles work? How will his tactics work? He's never qualified for the NCAA championships as an individual. How will those small nuanced aspects of his racing be translated to the most competitive fields that he's ever faced?
Right, and it's interesting with him because he has been pretty tactically sound, and he has been one that can just go out and win races against seemingly better competition at times. But I think the holdup was that PR, right? If your PR is 146, how are you really going to be competitive against the best of the best in the NCAA? And now he has that 144. But to your point, he's going to be going up against guys that are a level above what he's ever really competed against and expected to be able to like hang with, right? And in a setting that is going to be much more pressure packed than anything he's ever been a part of. So how does he react to that? But clearly 144 shows that he has the fitness to be a finalist and be someone that is really pushing towards a top 3 finish. It's just going to be difficult to see how he reacts to this newfound level that he's reached.
Would you Matsatsa, McCarthy, Erickson, maybe I don't know, maybe not Erickson anymore.
Yeah, maybe not.
We'll see. But Erickson and Hassan, or maybe not Hassan anymore after this past weekend. We'll talk about more
Yeah.
later. Is he part of that group? He's the only man to go under 145 this season. This year.
Right. Didn't Hassan go under 145?
Nope.
Am I making that up?
You are. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he's in that tier, but he's close to it. Although I think after this weekend, you could make a case that it should be just like a pretty big tier, or you have Matsatsa kind of in his own small little tier.
Why
But
not McCarthy with him? Why not?
Yeah, McCarthy with him. Yes, that's fair. But yeah, I think that is likely. I think he's kind of in that second or third tier at this point.
If Jackson looks incredible through the regional rounds, will you put him?
I think I'd be willing to bump him up.
Okay. So right now you have your own. Let's say we have tier 1, right? But 1A is Matsatsa McCarthy, and then 1B will you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Hassan, Erickson, and now you're gonna put Jackson in that?
I think so. Yeah, I think we could put him in there.
Well, big run for him. Thrilled. Go Hokies. Like, look great. Like, you think that Nick Plant's going to be the guy, and now Jackson kind of overtakes him. Brian Kewhite, great run. 145 low. I think NCAA number 3 this season. I don't really think it changes anything. I think we know that he's crazy naturally talented. He's great in all-out affairs, but he's not super consistent. And there's tactical questions that I've concerned about. Now, if he makes it to the 800-meter finals at the outdoor national meet,
yeah,
I mean, I could see him placing 4th or 3rd. I really could. But tactics and consistency have been a challenge for him, and that's just part of being a relatively new young guy from overseas, still trying to develop an understanding of that. But you have an all-out race where you go out in 51. It's a test of pure fitness. That was going to benefit him. And then Nick Plant runs 145.99. It's a PR, and yet he still gets 3rd place. So,
yeah, and it was great to see the way Koué kicked there at the end, but Jackson was still able to hold him off. I thought it was a positive sign for both of them, right? Where they had a little bit of juice at the end, which I think is certainly promising. Let's move on though and go to the women's 800, where we saw, in my mind, a pretty significant upset here as well, with Gladys Chepngetich running 159 to take down Makayla Paige and Roisin Willis, who both ran 2 flat. I've been very high on Paige all year. I think Chepngetich is someone that I've always believed in the talent, but haven't always believed in it coming through in the postseason. And obviously, we've still yet to see that at the national meet. But as far as the ACC championships, she picks up another conference championship win and over one of the hottest runners in the country at this point in Makayla Paige.
Yeah, and I thought this was like a very weird, like, tactical race from the sense of like what we are used to certain women doing. Like, Roisin Willis is not typically a front runner. Like, she likes to be a bit more conservative with her race approach. Like, she'll race mid pack and come on strong those final, last half. She was the aggressor. She was the aggressor for pretty much the entirety of this race. Gladys Chepngetich you could have seen a scenario where she gets a little too antsy and jumps and tries to get past Willis a little too early on, but she stuck on her shoulder, waited till 100 meters, and then booked it. It was surprisingly great composure, surprisingly great poise. It was an understanding of like, be patient, be patient, be patient. And she didn't get too overeager, which I liked. Makayla Paige, like, I think she, again, was trying to swing off that curve. And I think she pretty much had timed it right, but when you are doing something that tactical and it has to be that precise, if you misjudge or misgauge how other runners are feeling, which I think she did with Chepngetich, and not realizing that Chepngetich had a second gear once the final 100 meters opened up, that's the risk that you get. You risk taking a loss to someone like Chepngetich. So I will be interested to see how Chepngetich fares in races that are slower than 159 that she won in.
Sure.
But I thought for the most part, even for Willis, who got third, I actually thought this was like an encouraging race, kind of a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, season best for Willis, which was good, and season best for Paige, I think, as well. So, yeah, it's hard to knock either of those runs, but it still is a surprising result. And I like your point about Paige. The margins are so fine, especially the way that she likes to run, where she likes to leave it late. And I think she just left it too late because Chepngetich made that move late, but still before Paige, right? And I think that's ultimately what ended up costing her. So yeah, I don't think this changes your opinion of Paige necessarily a lot. But in my mind, this does make me view Chepngetich a little bit differently. If she can get through those rounds unscathed, it's going to be a fast race at the national meet, even in the prelims. And so I would expect her to do very well if she still has that patient mindset. Now, in a race where there's maybe 5 or 6 women all jostling around and it's a little bit more crowded in that last 100, how does she fare? But I really like this from her, and I've always been high on her, and this seems like the last puzzle piece for her to really make a big impact at the national meet.
I agree. And I know what everyone's going to say. It's like, you guys keep saying she's tactical. Well, she was front running the entire national championships. I think she even like kind of found herself like surprised that I think it was in a post race interview with us, I want to say, where she was even like, yeah, I just kind of found myself there and I just kept going. So,
Yeah.
so I will throw that out there as a counter to anyone, but let's move off of the women's 800 meters. Parker Wolfe put together a 28:51 10K, 13:13 5K. By the time this comes out, either the entries for regionals will be released or about to be released. 28:51 puts Parker Wolfe at, I believe, unless something has changed since I last checked, it puts him at number 48. Yep, 48 in the East Regional Qualifying Championships for the 10K. He easily got the 5K, no problem. Does he attempt, even after scratches, he would still get it anyways, but does he attempt the 10K, 5K double?
I feel like he's going to, right? I think when you run this fast in the 10K, like, I don't know. I wasn't able to watch the
It was a
10K.
tactical race, and like in 28:51's not cooking for someone like him.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Normally, that sometimes those are tactical races that are won in like 29:30, right? Where you would have no shot at a regional qualifier. Did it seem like he was eager to push the pace, or anybody from North Carolina was wanting to push it a little bit faster?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's like eager versus like wanting to versus can.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll just put it this way: 28:51. If it's Parker Wolfe, I think he can run at least a minute faster. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
at least.
absolutely. Yeah, a minute and a
So
half.
I mean, let's put it this way: should he go after the 10K 5K double?
I think he should. I still feel like the 10K is pretty open, right? I don't think that they. I mean, Haftam Samuel is certainly the favorite. I think it's there for the taking. I think you probably say the same thing about the 5K in a lot of ways, though. So I think if your argument is, hey, be the freshest guy on the line when it comes to the 5K in an event that, again, doesn't have anybody that you feel like is a lock to win, I think that's a fair argument as well, but I would like to see him just get 2 cracks at it, honestly, and I think he's clearly rounding into form at the perfect time.
What's more open, the 5K or 10K?
I think the 5K.
I think the 5K. And that's the thing. It's like if we think the 5K is slightly more wide open, and if we think that Kipkuri and Samuel will double back from the 10K, 5K,
Yeah,
which they
definitely.
almost certainly will, then does it make more sense for Wolfe to just be all fresh, all in for the 5K?
Yeah,
Like he's done
yeah.
in the past.
I'd be curious to look at the history of this. How well has that worked out for people in the past, where they're the freshest people, like freshest person in the 5K?
Well, it didn't work out for Young, Nico
Right.
Young.
The best
I mean,
example I could think of is McGorty from a
I would think
while back,
Ches, right?
where he
Ches
came
almost.
into the 5K fresh.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Never mind. Yeah. Are we willing to argue that? I mean, Grant Fisher probably at some point, right? Yeah, because Grant
Didn't
was
he lose to
fresh.
Morgan McDonald?
Not the one year where I think
Not the
McDonald was
one year
out.
that he got it. Yeah.
I'll take a look here, but I'm pretty sure Fisher won that title. He was second in 2019 to I think Sean McGorty. Oh no,
And then
I'm sorry, that was
that's
McDonald.
McDonald, and then he lost. Did he lose to McGorty?
God, I don't even know. McGorty was 2018, where Fisher was third, and then what was the year before that? Maybe it was 2017 when Fisher won. He
Okay.
outkicked Knight. That's what it was. And I
Okay.
think I think
That's
that year
probably
he was
the one.
fresh. Yeah.
So yeah. So McGorty and Fisher are probably the best 2 examples of that. Yeah.
Well, unless
I don't hate
McDonald,
it.
now that I'm saying that, was McDonald also fresh in 2019?
No,
Let's take a look.
he ran the 10K, didn't he?
No, he did not. He was also
Oh
fresh
no, he
in
didn't.
2019.
Okay. All
So
right. All
apparently
right.
it's actually worked out quite well.
Yeah. All right. Let's let Parker Wolfe. You're running the 5K, and that's it.
Just the
Sorry,
5K.
it's been
We've
decided.
It's been decided. Sorry if you wanted to run the 10K. We have decided for you. Thank you for coming. Okay. We're moving off of ACC. We're going to the Big Ten. A lot of weird, different things happen, but I think just the one thing that we should talk about, Sophie O'Sullivan of Washington beats both Ayildez and Barnett in the 1500-meter finals 4:11 to 4:13, unleashes a 58-second
Yeah.
last lap, really strong. Small side note, no Wilma Nielsen this season, so she's officially out. I think we kind of suspected that as of last week or 2 weeks before. But O'Sullivan just took down the collegiate mile record holder, both indoor and outdoor. Wilma Nielsen's not around. Don't know how much we really love the women's 1500 meters this season. Could she win gold?
Not only do I think she could, I think she's instantly in that top tier. I think she's run so well this year.
She has.
And to be able to close in 58, this is a Sophie O'Sullivan that we talked about a couple years ago during the summer when she was running all those fast times, was able to close so hard. I really think that she belongs in that favorite tier because she's just run so well throughout the year. And again, as you're looking through the performance list, it's not like anybody stands out in a massive way that is, you're like, hey, they're absolutely the favorite here. Ayildez would have been one of those women, possibly, and she just torched her. And I mean, I don't think either of us are super surprised to see in a race that isn't just pedal to the metal that O'Sullivan would beat Ayildez, but the proof is we have solid proof now, and it was a dominant victory over Ayildez in that last lap. So I think she certainly belongs in that favorite status with women like Appleton, with Forrester. I think those are the 3 that I honestly feel the most confident in going into the national championships, because they've just exhibited the best form throughout the year, even if they haven't been the names that we would have expected coming into the spring to challenge for a title.
No notes. I agree. I think is this the highest that we've ever been on O'Sullivan during an NCAA season?
I feel like we were fairly. I mean, I think what 2 or so years ago I was talking about her as a possible title contender, but even then I don't know if it was as on as short of a list as what we
I mean,
have
I was going
this
to say,
year.
is that the product of her talent or just how wide open this field is this year? Both?
I think it feels kind of equivalent talent and like less competition this year.
Okay. Um, Moving off of that though, real quick, Alan Clay beats Matthew Erickson. Alan
Oh,
Clay
you're
from
right.
Penn State,
Yeah.
Matthew Erickson from Oregon, 147.93 to 147.93.
Yeah.
Are you really putting, or like, are you putting a lot of, like, what does this say? Who does this say more about, Alan Clay or Matthew Erickson?
I think Alan Clay, although it does similar to what we were talking about with Paige. I mean, Erickson's style doesn't leave a whole lot of margin for error, as we saw here. Now, I expect the 800 race at the national championships to look completely different than what we saw at Big Tens. It's going to require a much faster time, I would imagine, at least 145. So this doesn't really change, I think, what our expectations are for Erickson going into the national championship. It's just, hey, do you think he has the raw fitness to be able to go toe to toe with guys that are going to probably run 145 low? Because in a more tactical race, I still think he's one of the favorites, right? If it's a 147, 148 kind of race, you still feel good about him, right? Even with this like basically tie that he had at Big Tens.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. No arguments. All right. Moving off of that, we'll head to the Big 12. Or we'll start, you know what? I know we have James Corrigan listed here, but let's start with Meghan Hunter.
Sure.
158.99. Had to be honest, wasn't super high on her after the indoor national meet where she didn't make it
Mm-hmm.
out of the prelims. And then she goes to Brian Clay and she runs 202 and is not
Yeah.
really a factor. Then she runs two flat low at an altitude conversion time. And I go, okay, that's fine, but it doesn't really tell us anything about how she'll really fare. Then she beats a Big 12 field that, in retrospect, actually, if you look at some of those performances, pretty quick times. She runs
Sure.
158.99, the third woman to ever in NCAA history run under the 159 barrier, joins Athing Mo and Makayla Rose. How do you interpret this result?
It's tough because we've seen her kind of do this, not to this level before, but have this peak at the end of the year, right? And that's usually why we're pretty high on her. And I think that's why it was so unsettling to see that indoor NCAA performance where she didn't make it to the final, because we just come to expect, hey, it's a national championship. Meghan Hunter's going to have some of the best performances of her season at this point. And again, that's why it felt a little off to see her not perform well. But if you take that away and you're like, all right, this was just a bad day, right? I don't. I think this models how we've seen her run her seasons, where she starts out a little slow, comes on strong conference weekend or right before, and then builds momentum into the national championship. So I I still struggle to see her as a title favorite, considering who she's going to be going up against. But her as I feel like she's as good of a lock as anybody to finish top 3, top 4. I just really, I think her experience, her level of fitness at this point, it's just, she reminds me so much of Claire Seymour. And I know that's easy to get into with the BYU 800 runner, like where they just peak at the end of the season. But it just feels like she's one of those women that is just going to be right up there near the front, not cross the line first, but just be one of the more consistent performers that you're going to see in the 800 field.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. Like, she has a history, despite what happened at the indoor national meet. She has a history of running really well at the national meet.
Right. Exactly.
Really well. And so that's what scares me, where I go, okay, she's probably peaking and she's traditionally at her best on the biggest stage. So what's to say that she can't be right up there with Rose or Paige or whoever, right? And yet I don't know what it is. I can't really even pinpoint it. where maybe it's just what happened previously in March and April, but I can't quite shake the idea of like, I'm just not entirely sold yet on a 158.99 runner to win a national title. Do I think she'll be an All-American? Yeah. In fact, I'd even borderline say that she's going to be a borderline lock. Of course,
Absolutely.
I would have said that at the indoor national meet, and then look
Mm-hmm.
what happened, right? Now, that was a crazy series of prelims, but the point stands. Fanny Ardent, I don't know how you say that, of Texas Tech, 2 flat, and then we'll talk about Immaculate Jemutai later. Ardent, Fanny Ardent, however you want to say her name. Uh, Thoughts? She's now NCAA number 15 this season with the 2 flat 9-1 mark.
Yeah, I don't know. This feels like a fairly big jump for her, and I'm scrolling through her T first page to make sure that I'm correct in saying that. Yeah, I mean this is a almost 2-second PR for her.
I will say she did run converted in the winter. That was something
Okay.
fairly quick. So
Yeah,
one of those is converted.
she probably ran 202 converted if I'm looking at
She
the
ran 201.99.
9. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, I think this is a great performance. I think she's now in the mix to be she's now firmly in the mix to make nationals. And it's just, can you have this level of consistency when you see these big jumps this late in the year? It can go one of two ways, right? You have momentum, and if you're experienced, we're going to call it momentum, right? If you're inexperienced, we're going to say, hey, did you peak a little too early, or did everything line up, and can you follow that up with needing to run 201 and 2 flat in back-to-back days at regionals, whereas you only had to do 203 and 2 flat at conference championships. So I'm falling back on some cliches here where it's just like, hey, this is someone that's kind of come out of the woodwork a little bit to be this level of athlete. But I'm just not really ready to say she's anything other than a favorite to make the national meet at this point.
I'll say this: she won the Big 12 title indoors, right? And so,
But those indoor ones are
I,
weird with
I
the
agree.
way things are spread out with the 600 and the 1,000 at Big 12s. Those are harder to put a lot of value in.
I agree, but I do think there's something to be said of like, hey, she runs 201.99, ends the indoor track season NCAA number 18, doesn't get into the national. Oh, or
No,
actually
she
did she
does.
get
She didn't make it through prelims.
right? Never mind then. I lied. Never mind. No notes. That's it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think we both agree she's on track to be at the national meet. It's just going to be a bloodbath to get into that final, and it's
100%. Yeah,
hard to
it's going to
pick
be
her for that
crazy
at this
hard.
point.
I want to stay on the women real quick, while we have it. Third in
Yeah.
that same 800-meter race was Kansas's Immaculate Jemutai, who ran 201. And I'm sure many of you are thinking, okay, Garrett, like that's cool, but we've talked about a lot of really fast 800-meter women. Why is this a big deal? Thank you for asking, listener. So Immaculate Jemutai had never run faster than 4:15 for 1,500 meters per TIFAs. I have yet to check her World Athletics
Yeah.
profile. She was in the 1,500-meter final, and in a race where the BYU duo of Carly Hansen and Riley Chamberlain were front running for the entire race, Jemutai unleashes a crazy kick over the final 200, 100 meters and pounces at the line to get Carly Hansen by the slightest margin, wins by like a tenth of a second, and runs 4:08. Hansen runs 4:08. Chamberlain falters to 4:09 in third place. And then Jemutai doubles back, runs 2:01 to get third at the Big 12 championships. How do you even begin to process a woman who threw down a crazy good kick, took down had a massive upset win for the conference title, dropped 7 seconds en route to 4:08 PR, and then goes on to run 2:01 on the double same day, tired legs?
Yeah, I have no idea. And yeah, I'm looking at her World Athletics page, and there aren't any non NCAA performances. So we have no idea if this is like we could have seen this before. Like, did the Kansas staff recruit her knowing that, hey, she had the potential of doing, obviously they probably hoped it, but had they seen anything that said she definitely could? Because this is absolutely wild. There aren't many women who had as good of a double during this conference championship weekend as Jemutai had, and for her to take down the names that she did in the 1500 is super impressive. A little concerning on Riley Chamberlain's part. I really thought she was another one of those candidates to possibly win an NCAA title, but I love it from Jemutai's perspective, and the fact that she did the double alleviates a lot of my concerns about her getting through rounds at regionals, at nationals. Like, she's clearly going to be strong enough to get through it. It's just whether tactically she puts herself in the right position, because everybody's going to have a great kick in the prelims at nationals. Like, most people are going to have a great kick in that final regional round, right? Can she position herself well enough to be able to utilize it and not tap into it too early, right? That's really the only questions that you have at this point. Clearly, she's shown she's fit enough to run 408. Maybe there's a little bit of concern if it's a super fast race, which I don't think it's going to be, where it's like you're going out at 404, 405, and she just can't hang at that, and that just runs her out of contention. But really, absent of that, I don't think there's a scenario if she sets herself up tactically where she isn't someone that's sitting there at the finals in the NCAA. And I know that seems a little hyperbolic considering she's just come out of nowhere. But I really like what I saw, and I really like the times and who she beat. At this point, it's just, can she kind of stay out of her own way, more or less, and save her kick for when it matters?
Real quick, scale of 1 to 10, what's your concern level for Riley Chamberlain?
I think it's a 6. It's more concerned than not, but I'm not raising the alarm bell too much at this point, because there's still a lot of season
left.
Can she
still win a national title?
I think she still can. We've seen people come back from poor performances and conference championships and come back and win titles. Her odds in my mind probably went down a little bit. If I thought she had a 8% chance or 10% chance before, and maybe it's 5, but I still think there is a chance.
I don't love that she's definitively and clearly better on the indoor oval than she
and she shouldn't be. And she shouldn't be. I've talked about this. She should not be. And it's very strange. And I think you could make the argument that she's just she's been way better in a relay than she is in individual events. For whatever reason, in those relays, she just looks like the best runner in the country. But you put her in an individual event, I don't know if it's the amount of women that are around her. I don't know what it is, but she just starts to look human. And I don't quite know why that is.
Yeah. And it's not like she's been running poorly this season. She's actually been having one of her better outdoor track seasons. But then there's just small moments like this where I go, that is odd. But all right, we'll wrap up the Big 12 with James Corrigan, another BYU runner here. 822 steeplechase. He's gone 843 to 830 to now 822. Takes a big win over Joash Ruto of Iowa State, who ran 825. Looks like Corrigan's beginning to peak. Looks like this is one of the most calculated and most precise postseason peaks that I can remember. And it looks like he's getting pretty close to Jeffrey Kirwa. Should I be concerned because you drafted Corrigan and I did not?
I absolutely think you should be concerned. I think that this is what I always was betting on with Corrigan, right? I just thought that there would be a deliberate intention to slow play his season, bring him along. He's going to have a longer year. He just came off a very long year running in the Olympics. Like I always thought they were going to slow play this, and I always thought that was the right move. And now he's positioned himself great. The only thing that you could probably say you don't love about the scenario is he's going to have to go deeper in the well at nationals than I think he really has had to do at any point in the last 6 months. And that's not a great, when you haven't had to go dig too deep for a while, it's almost like a psychological thing. And maybe they're doing that in practice, right? And maybe they're putting, like, getting that psychological training there. But that's my only concern there. Is like Kirwa is like, he knows he can run that fast, and his body body and mind is going to be very well prepared for that. Corrigan, he just hasn't done that for a long time at this point.
Okay. I think I agree. I'm with you that it's like, hey, he still has like 9 seconds to make
Exactly.
up for Kirwa.
Yeah.
That does I'm with you. It does concern me, but man, it like I'm honestly I'm more scared of Ed Eyestone than I am of James Corrigan.
I was about to say that. It was like we haven't mentioned his name, but Ed Eyestone, you just don't want to bet against like preparing steeplechasers, right? He knows how to get them ready to roll. I think he learned a lot from that one year where BYU had 4 guys in the final, and then they finished like 8, 9, 10, 11 or whatever it was.
Great. Not a great look. Yeah.
But I mean, ever since then, you can't really argue with the results. They've been very, very good. Kenneth Rooks, James Corrigan. I really think we're gonna see him step up. Whether he beats Kirwa or not, like, I don't know, but it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be like Kirwa running away with it.
And there's a very real possibility that Isaac Hendengren and Landon Heemeyer join Corrigan at the national meet this year, and BYU sends 3 guys in the steeplechase.
Yeah.
I actually think it's borderline favored to happen.
Likely.
Yeah.
So. I agree. Alrighty, let's move on to the Big East Championships, where we saw Chloe Scrimgeour run 32-13 in the 10K to take home the title there. Another impressive result from Scrimgeour, who continues to have a very strong outdoor season. I hesitate to say that she's bouncing back from an indoor season, because it's not like her indoor season was bad, but it wasn't quite Chloe Scrimgeour level. This has felt more at the standard that she has set for herself in years past, and I think continues to be a dangerous threat in this 10K event.
15:04 in the 5K this season, now runs 32:13 just as the postseason begins. Her first ever 10K of the season, I should say. She's run 10K before. She was an All-American in the 10K last year. What % chance do you give her to be a double All-American in the 5K and 10K?
I'm going to give her a 33% chance. I think about 1/3. I think she's favored in both, I think, to be it. It's just putting those two things together.
Right.
That's difficult, right?
I'm
bullish.
You're bullish. I would give her closer to a 40-45% chance. So not terribly off. I think you're right. The combined chances just naturally go against you, but I don't think it's so far down as that. I think she's at the top of her game, and as long as she can bounce back for the 5K, I don't really see why she couldn't. Like, I think the 10K is pretty wide open. No Halliday Lowry, no Lemongall, no Hilda Alamamwe. Right? Is that true? Did I make that up? I might have completely made that up, right?
Yeah, I can't remember if she ran that or not.
I'm not seeing her on the national leaderboard. I don't think Alamamwe ran it. So, like, I would take Scrimgeour over Jaden Keeler. I would take Scrimgeour over Julia Cherubit, right? Like, these are all women ahead of her on the national leaderboard. So, yeah, I think I definitely like Scrimgeour as a borderline in the 10K.
Sure.
And then the 5K, that's where things get a little tricky, but as long as she can do it.
I mean, she would still be favored, right? I feel like in the 5K to be an All-American. It's just whether or not she's able to after running the 10K the night before.
I mean, let's go through the list and let's say, like, do you think this woman's finishing ahead of Scrimgeour in the 5K? Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Doris Lemongall.
Yes.
Pamela Koski.
Yes.
Lexi Halliday Lowry.
Yes.
Grace Hartman.
Yes.
Hilda Alamamwe.
That one, I think, is the line in my mind.
And then after that, it's like Sophia Kennedy, Jenna Hutchins, Marian Chepngetich, Diana Chepngetich.
I'm going to go with Alamamwe just because she'll be coming in this presumably fresh.
True.
But, I mean, after that, there's no one else on this list that I would pick over Scrimgeour.
Not even Chepngetich?
I don't think
she didn't even have a great showing in the 5K Big Tens.
Yeah. I like Chepngetich in the 10K a lot more than I do in the 5K.
I agree. I'm with you there as well. Okay, cool. I just wanted to do that little thought experiment there. And then finally, we'll wrap it all up. I know there's a ton of great performances, but like we said, there's only so much to go around, only so much that we can actually talk about from an implications standpoint. But Sam Whitmarsh of Texas A&M, for the
Yeah.
second straight SEC meet, defeats / upsets, if we could even call it an upset anymore, defeats Abdullahi Hassan with a mark of 145.3. Hassan runs 145.6. Rivaldo Marshall of Arkansas runs 145.8, I believe. Sam Whitmarsh, 145. He beat Hassan at the SEC Indoor Championships in what was considered an upset at the time based on how their seasons have been going. But he didn't have a fast enough time to advance the indoor national meet. Hassan goes there, gets second runner-up, and so on and so forth. But now Whitmarsh has a chance to advance to the national meet. He's run 145. Big win at probably the most important time of the season for him. I mean, what are the immediate thoughts when you see that result come across your screen?
Yeah, I've always loved Whitmarsh, but I'm scared. I feel like I have scars from picking him too high over the years. And so I love this performance. And obviously, as you mentioned, we knew he could based off of his indoor performance. And we always knew the outdoor oval would favor him and his taller stature. This is where he's able to really let those legs unfold across the track. But you could make a compelling argument to say he's one of the top 3 or 4 800-meter runners this year, and I think you could
Really?
credibly.
You think so?
I think you could, like, not on the basis of his entire year, but going into the national meet, you could say, hey, he could absolutely finish third, right?
So you're
I
just
don't.
saying at the best version of Whitmarsh.
Right, yeah, like
Yes.
based off of this trajectory, so coming off of this win, right? I don't think it would be silly to go in and say, hey, if we did national predictions today, if someone put him third, I'm not going to be like, that's crazy. I think that's very feasible. But at the same time, I don't love what we've seen out of him in national meets. I don't love that he didn't run fast enough during the indoor season to even make the national meet. That always felt like a little bit of a red flag for someone who generally likes to front run and really push the pace and usually runs fast times because of it. That said, he did just beat a guy that we came in thinking that could be one of the favorites for the national title, and he's done it twice now. I don't know how to feel about this. Like this result just made me feel uncomfortable because I didn't know what to take from it, because I have the angel on this shoulder being like, all right, he could win. Like he could take down everyone.
Yep.
And I have the devil on the shoulder be like, he might not make finals. And that's he's just been he's had so much variance in his career. And it only seems right that he's going to finish on one extreme or the other this season.
I had a very similar thought process of like, I don't know how to feel about this. Now, I don't think this dramatically changes my feelings on Hassan. Like, he lost to Whitmarsh during the indoor
Yeah.
SEC meet, came back, got runner up. Here's what I said about the performance in our first thoughts article. I said, so ... What are we supposed to make of these results? Do these performances say more about Whitmarsh or more about Hassan? Does this mean that Whitmarsh is back as a national title contender? What is different about this outcome compared to the final results that we saw at the SEC Indoor Championships? I'm with you. I want to say that Whitmarsh is back or getting back or he's on the trajectory, but it has not been a good year for him, point blank period. And you know, for whatever that reason may be, we know he's had health challenges in the past, but like, there's just a level of like uneasiness that I get even when he runs 145 and beats a national title threat. So I think we've just had a long-winded way of saying we don't know how to feel about any of this.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, and I would love to see him perform well. He seems like he's a great guy and overcome adversity and everything that you want to cheer for in this sport. But I can't trust it, and I truly don't know if I'll be able to trust it until he crosses the finish line. at nationals with a good performance. Like I just am not there with him yet.
I'm with you there as well. All right, Ben, I think we'll call it. It's actually a little bit of a shorter one despite that, but if we tried to go through any other results, then we'd have to talk about them all.
Yeah.
And we were just not going to do that. So what else? What plugs do you have? Anything?
No plugs. We're gonna be gearing up for regionals. Obviously, the reactions to the regional start lists are always one of the more interesting articles in my mind. It's really interesting to get an insight into athlete and coaches' heads because, again, we don't get very many opportunities to that because they can do whatever they want, they can say whatever they want, but until they actually have to make those decisions, we don't really know what the truth is. And this is an opportunity for us to see how they feel about certain things. So I'm excited to see that. And then we're going to be full speed ahead after regionals. This is always a very busy time of the year, as you know. So excited for that.
Yeah. No, we're going to have, and the craziest part is that we got D2 and D3 nationals this weekend. They're happening.
Jeez.
I think even as we speak, that this is being released on Wednesday. So D2 and D3 nationals start Thursday. We'll have all American predictions for those as well as what do you mean?
Why so early?
I will say D2 and D3 have always been before D1 and during the outdoor track season, but for whatever reason,
this is excessive.
It's a week later than usual for D1. Usually D2 and D3 nationals aligns with D1 regionals and you knock them all out during Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
This is time. The regionals is the week after Memorial Day weekend.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
it's D1's fault.
Yeah, it is D1's fault. So D2 and D3 have all been fine. We'll have NAIA championships are starting Wednesday, actually, which and they end on Friday. Why? Or at least that's what we have on the calendar.
That I don't like. I don't like that.
I don't know. Just do Thursday to Saturday or whatever it is through Saturday. But yeah, I don't know. But the point is, go check out YouTube for the what is it? Yeah, the 23rd. Yeah, that makes no sense. Friday. Anyways, go check out YouTube for SEC championships interviews. Thank you to Donnie. Also have a handful of things being posted there for the national meet. So go subscribe now. Really appreciate everyone who's been doing that. Go subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Apple, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. Go check out all the content that we have. We're going to have regional qualifying predictions and scratches and yada, 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 all that jazz. But Ben, for now, that is all.
All right. Well, until next week, Garrett, I'll talk to you.
I'll talk to you.